Okay, please let me know if my screen is visible. Are we good to start? Okay, guys. Let us do a small recap about the yesterday's topic, the final keyword in Java. Okay, so in a nutshell, the final keyword is used to represent a variable and also it is used to represent a method as well as class. But our discussion was on top of variable, the final variable. We have discussed for almost 1 hour on top of final variables, right? And this is a one of the interview questions. Can we define a Java constructor with the final keyword? The answer must be no. Okay, constructors cannot be final at any cost. Okay, you can apply final variables only for 3 entities. They are variables, methods, and classes. It is not applicable for a constructor. Okay, a very straightforward answer, right? So Java final variable, if you want to define any constant which will never get changed throughout the programming cycle, okay, then you can use the final keyword. So the moment you put final keyword, it means the value cannot be modified. Okay, even if you do the if you try to do the modification, it won't happen. You will get compilation error. Okay, when it is strictly final, it means the value remains constant forever for the whole programming cycle, right? And we have seen some examples on top of this, right? And especially the topic blank final concept. Okay, you can define a variable. I mean, you can just declare a final variable, right? If you are declaring a final variable, I mean an instance final variable, you need to assign that variable. You can assign the value to this variable by using a constructor. This is one takeaway, right? At the same time, the another takeaway is, if you are defining a final static variable, blank variable, blank static variable, okay, you can assign the value by using the static block. Okay, I have given the clear-cut explanation, and if you go through my notes, it will make more sense. Okay, so this was the discussion yesterday. Today, one more discussion is pending on top of final variable. It's just a matter of 5 minutes. So, for example, let us take that I have a class test. This is my test class, and I am taking a variable. Sorry, let us take another class as class A. Now I have two classes in my package. One is class A, and second one is the test class, right? So, in this class A, if I just define a final variable like public or just like integer, final integer number, okay, I am just defining a final variable. Okay, so just declaring the final variable, declaration. Now remember one thing, if you declare a final variable, I mean without any value, if you just perform the declaration, you can assign a value to this final variable by using a constructor, because this is a blank final variable. This is what? Blank. This was the concept that we were discussing yesterday, blank final variable. Okay, you can assign a value to this variable by using a constructor. Yes or no? I need to use a constructor, and through this constructor, I need to assign the value. I can assign the value to this blank final variable. So this dot number equal to number. Okay, here I am declaring the variable. Here I am assigning the value to this final blank variable. But this is of static, I mean a non-static type, which means I need to use a constructor. We have discussed this topic yesterday, right? So if I run this code, if I just perform the compilation, let me open my command prompt. Okay, I am changing the directory, cd space java 3. Okay, compilation java c space. Okay, before that, let me save this. So Java C space test.java. Okay. Java space test. So compilation is successful and execution is also successful. No issues. The output is going to be black because we haven't given any instructions in the main method. Okay. My question is, if I remove this constructor, the moment I remove this constructor, if I just keep the blank final variable, if I just keep the blank final variable, will I get any error or will the execution will be successful? What do you think? Do I get any error here, or will the execution, will I be able to perform the compilation successfully, or will I get any error? Any inputs, any insights from your side? I just perform the declaration. Okay, I'm not even assigning a value through the constructor. I have just declared the blank final variable. Because of this declaration, will this program gets compiled successfully, or will I get any error? Any inputs from your side? So now the interview question, just come on. I hope you have understood my question. If I compile this, will I get error, or the execution, the compilation will get successful? Come on, everyone answer. Ganesh, Ratna Kumar, Jyoti, yes. Krishna Prasad. Krishna Prasad says no error. Jyoti and Venkatesh, come on, answer. Very important question. Or just answer me, don't know. Whatever it is, just give me the quick answer so that we can proceed further. Come on, don't know. At least type don't know if you don't know. Don't remain calm. Won't be good. Ganesh says no. What about others? I want response from everyone. Please keep the session interactive. Jyoti and Jyoti, yes. They are saying possible. Any other answers? Maybe default value will be written. Okay, good try, Ratna Kumar. We will see. Let me save this code. See, we are getting an error. What is the error? Variable number not initialized in the default constructor. Final in declaration. Okay, it says you have just declared the final variable, but you did not perform the, you did not assign any value to this final variable. It means you cannot do this. You cannot keep the final variable just declared. You cannot have the, you cannot what? You cannot just have the final variable, blank final variable. You cannot just have the blank final variable. The moment you declare the blank final variable, it is mandatory to assign a value to the blank final variable within the same line or in the next line. I repeat, the moment you declare the blank final variable, it means, what does it exactly mean? Final means it cannot be changed. Of course, it cannot be changed. But again, the rule says if you just declare the blank final variable without assigning a value, in this case the value is assigned now. In this case the value is assigned now, there will be no error. But you cannot keep like this. You cannot just keep like this. If you keep like this, you will get an error, because it is mandatory to assign a value to the final variable within the same line or in the following lines. In this case, how I can remove this compilation error? I need to assign a value by using the constructor. So it is mandatory for me to assign the value to the final variable which is left, which is just declared. No value has been assigned. So I need to fulfill that. But you can perform the declaration separately. You can assign the value to the final variable separately, but they both should go together. Right? This should be mandatory. This dot number equal to number. Here I have an option to do the declaration. Here I have an option. I have given an option to perform the initialization. I'm keeping an option to perform the initialization. I am initializing the value. I'm assigning the value or not. That is secondary. But I am giving an option to the end user to assign a value to the final variable. Okay, how this can be assigned? Very simple. I just declare a constructor aobj equal to new a. So I will have to pass a value here. Okay, this value will be assigned to the respective final variable for this respective object. Making sense? You cannot just keep it declared. Okay, if you keep it declared as a blank final variable, it is mandatory for you to ensure that some value is getting assigned. You need to give that option. In this case, I am appointing a constructor so that the end user can able to assign a value. Now I will not get any error. See, output is going to be blank because I'm just passing, I'm not printing anything. Right? Even I can print system dot out dot println. Okay, so obj dot number. Okay, now the output is going to be 100. Okay. So this is valid one. So this is a valid program. What did we learn from this program? Very simple. Okay. Example. Please be informed that in the blank, when you define a blank final variable, blank final variable, it is mandatory for the I can say that it is mandatory to give an option to assign a value to the respective blank final variable. You can assign values in two ways. If the blank final variable is instance, non-static. If the blank final variable is a non-static or instance variable, you will have to use a constructor, or you will have to define a constructor. Define a constructor. If the blank final variable is a static variable, you will have to define a static block. That's it. Okay, this is a valid code. The moment you remove this code becomes invalid because there is a violation here. What are the things that we are violating here? You declared a blank final variable, but you have forgotten to assign the value, or you're forgetting to giving an option to the end user to assign the value to the blank final variable. This becomes empty. We are not fulfilling the actual requirements. Okay, the moment if you give static, the moment you specify this blank final variable as static, it means you can assign the value to this blank final variable by using the static block. You cannot use a constructor. We have discussed these things yesterday. So number equal to 1000, whatever it is, or 200. Second example, if it is a static, we need to give an option in such a way that the value is getting assigned to the static block. If it is a non-static, constructor. Very simple. Static, use static block. If it is a non-static, use a constructor. As simple as that. Okay. By this, we can conclude that this is the final topic on top of final variable. Example 2. Making sense? Shall we proceed to the next example? Everyone, shall we proceed? We are going to enter into a new topic. Okay, everyone type S in the chat box. Okay. Now focus here. Now I am going to start a new topic called enums in Java, or else I can say that Java enums. Java enums. Okay. One of the interesting topics in Java enums. Okay. Before even understanding Java enums, I will give you the small Java program. Okay. Let us say that you are asked to develop a WhatsApp application. You are asked what? You are asked to develop a WhatsApp application. So in the WhatsApp application, you are asked to develop one of the parts, one of the features in the WhatsApp application. What is that? User status. User underscore status. User status. When I say user status, user can be available, yes or no? Or user can be busy, or user can be ideal, yes or no? Let me remove all this. Okay, I am taking a class that is going to give me the information about the user status. So user status, he can be available, or he can be busy, or he can be ideal. Okay, for example, if I want to define the user status availability, I am taking three constants. What are they? Public, static, final, string. Okay, public, static, final, string, and AVA available. Now look at this. So this is a final variable, the complete part that is placed towards the left side of the assignment operator. Public is access modifier, static is the variable type, final is the keyword, string is the data type, and available is what? It is the variable name. To define a complete constant, I have already said that when you are defining a constant, it means the value cannot be changed. Okay, the value, look at the value says user is available. The value says what? User is available. Likewise, I am taking three other final variables to store a constants. This is second final variable, and this is third final variable, and the name of the variable is going to be what? User is busy. User is busy. The third one is user is ideal. User is okay, and we know that already. Okay, so these are the constant. If I access available, the output is going to be what? User is available. If I access busy, the output is going to be user is busy. If I access idle, the output is going to be user idle. Okay, according to the Java naming convention. Remember, please remember this point. According to the Java naming convention. According to the Java naming conventions, if you have any constants, it must be declared in the uppercase. Any constant variables, it must be declared in the uppercase. Okay, so let us follow this. Okay, so this is one of the rules. According to the Java naming conventions, if you have any constant variable, it must be declared in the uppercase. What does it really mean? Okay, so these are our three variables, three constants variables. The name of the variable should always be in the uppercase, right? So instead of available, I can say it like available. Instead of busy, let me change it to busy in the uppercase, and instead of ideal, let me change this to ideal in the uppercase. Okay, user is busy, user is, this is the naming convention, rule number 1. Right? Now you see the rule number 2. This rule number 1. Okay? The rule number 2 says all the constants should be represented with public static final. This is mandatory. I mean, highly recommended, not mandatory, highly recommended. If you have any constants to be represented, it must be represented with what? Public static final. So, public static final. To represent a constant, we have to follow these keywords. First one is public static final. The same time, if you want to keep any variable, you can keep any variable, no issues, but it should be in the uppercase letter. Right? So, let us do this here. Available, busy, ideal. Okay, I have 3 constants here. I have what? I have 3 constants and 3 variables: available, busy, ideal. And when I try to access each and every variable, I am going to get a specific output with respect to that variable. If I try to access available, output should be user is available. Okay, the moment system.out.println, the moment I give this, if I want to access this, okay, since this is a static, since it's a static variable, we have already discussed in many classes, in the previous classes. To access any static variable, I can just use the class name followed by the variable name. Class name dot variable name. What is it? Class name dot variable. I do not have to create any object. To access a static variable, object creation is not necessary. I can just directly use the class name followed by the variable name. Okay, the syntax is going to be class name dot variable name. That's it. Okay, when I do this, I can able to access the respective static variable. So this is a static variable. Let us do that. Okay, what is the class name? User status. User status dot available. What is the class name? User status dot busy. What is the class name? User status dot id. Okay, we are able to access it. This is just like a similar way where we try to access the static variables. When I do this, I will be getting the relevant output. We know this already. There is a point in discussing this. Output is going to be user is available, user is busy, user is ideal. Okay, so these are representing constants, but there is a problem here. What problem that we are facing here? If I have 100 constants, now we have 3 constants, so no issues. I can be using public static final string available. Okay, if I have 100 constants, don't you think that I need to repeat these 4 words? If all the 100 constants are of string type, okay, all these 3 keywords, public static final, public static final, public static final, has to be repeated for 100 times. Since I have 3 constants, no issues. If I have 100 constants, don't you think that I need to repeat all this for 100 times? Yes or no? Type in the chat box. Are you getting this? We have 3 constants, we do not have any issues. If I have 100 constants, don't you think that I need to repeat public static final over and over again for 100 times? Don't you think that it is going to increase the length of the program? The second thing is, okay, see, I am using string, data type is string here. Okay, here the data type, let us change this data type to integer. Okay, instead of using something like this, I can use this 0. Okay, so ideal, I am taking a boolean data type, ideal. So here I am saying it, I am keeping a value as true with respect to the data type. So here the type is string, so string value is also string. Here the type is integer, so the data type is getting changed. It is not like you are going to have the same data type for all the constants. Yes or no? The data type will be varied from one constant to another constant. Don't you think so? In our example, I have taken an example in such a way that all the three data types are of string type, but I may have an example in the future where data types can be varied from one value to another value. Since it is a string value, I can use string. Since it is a numerical value, I can go for integer. Since it is a boolean value, I have to use boolean data type, right? If I keep repeating this, don't you think that typedness will be reduced? Typedness. Okay, Java is a strictly typed programming language. Okay, for example, if you do this, okay, there is a problem here. Third one, when you do this, there are different data types. At the same time, you are keep repeating this public static final, public static final, public static final. Okay, Java is a strictly typed programming language. Strictly typed programming language, right? The above example will reduce the typedness. As it is representing a different data types. Right? So the performance is going to be slow because the one constant is representing the string, the second constant is representing the integer, third constant is representing boolean. Okay, since we have three constants, no issues. In future, we may have 100 constants. If each and every constant is representing a different data type, the typedness of the programming language is going to be reduced. If that is reducing, the performance will be decreased. The performance will be decreased. Will be reduced. This is third problem. I mean, this is one of the problems that we are able to identify when we use the constant like this, when we declare the constant like this. Okay, and the fourth one is, if we access the constants variables through the values of the constant variables displayed, where value of the constants variables may reflect, for example, the meaning can be changed here. See, I can say here available, but I can put the value here like user is not available. I can say busy. Here I am saying busy. Okay, but here I can represent a value that is irrelevant to the variable. I can say under one something like this. Here it is ideal. Okay, it is holding what boolean type. Instead of true, I can do false here. Okay, these things may happen internally by accidentally. These things may happen. See, for example, you are saying available. This available variable is meant to say that user is available. User is available. Okay, user is available. This is completely valid, meaningful. Okay, but when I do this, when I say user is not available, okay, the actual meaning of the variable is getting changed. There is a problem, right? I am saying busy. To quote a busy status, okay, there is a keyword called 0. 0 means busy. It doesn't mean that the value, if the value 0 is being assigned to the variable busy, it's okay, right? But if it doesn't mean that I am not able to assign any other value apart from 0. I have an option to assign any other numerical value here. It is not meaningful. It is not meaningful. These things may happen. Okay, the variable name that you are giving here will not match with the value that you are specifying here. Okay, the complete meaning will be changed. This kind of problems you will face when you use the when you use the variable like final variables, public static final variables. This type of issues will be there. Okay, what I'm trying to say is, let us take this example. Okay. This example says 4. In the above approach, if we access the constant variables, then the values of the constant variables that are defined or displayed will get displayed. However, the values may or may not have the meaningful messages with respect to the constant variables. Okay, your intention is to display something meaningful with respect to this variable name. Okay, but the value is giving a different meaning, right? And your intention is to display something meaningful message to the end user, but this value is going to represent something, not a logical meaning. Okay, there are high chances that these things will get evolved while developing the program. Okay, so this is the drawback, because you have an option to do changes on this. You have an option. Since you have an option, these things are possible, right? But if you remove this option, and if you just want to represent the constant with the help of the variable name, that is going to be perfect and that is going to be meaningful. It is going to be secured. Yes or no? Okay, since there is an option, there are high chances that the meaning of this particular constant's value may be changed by the developer. But if you remove this option, if the constants are identified only with the variable name, okay, that would be appropriate. Okay, to deal with these disadvantages, we are going for what? We are going for enums, as simple as that. Okay, these are the disadvantages that we have. Of course, if we are developing a program by taking care of all of these things, no issues. But this could also be considered. You know, the negative impacts. There are high chances that the negative impacts can be evolved from this programming part, right? To avoid this, we are going what? Enum. Now we will understand what is enums. What are enums actually? And we will try to understand what? We will try to understand what are enums. To overcome all the above problems, we are actually going for Java enums. Okay, Java enum says it is a special class. An enum is a special class that represents a group of constants, not a single constants, group of constants. Unchangeable like final variables. An enum is a special class that represents a group of constants, unchangeable variables like final variables. It's just like a final variable, but it has some advantages. We are going to see what are the advantages. So to create an enum, we have to use the enum keyword, as simple as that. Okay, you have to use enum keyword and separate the constants with commas. They should be represented in the uppercase letter. Yes. Okay, so let us take the same example. So this is our example. So this is our example class that is representing the constant. Very simple. So let us convert this class to the enum. So this is the class we need to convert this class to what? We need to convert this class to the enum. Okay, so instead of using class, just use enum. Replace the class with enum keyword. Okay, name of the class should be same as this name, user status, right? And the boundary, opening parenthesis and the closing parenthesis. Okay, remove all this. We do not want to use public, static, final, and you do not want to represent the data type also. Okay, just use these variables. What? Available, separated by comma, busy, separated by comma, boolean, sorry, idle, if it is a last constant, use semicolon. That's it. Okay, this is the ordinary class which has all constants. This is enum, which is representing all the constants. Okay, you will have access directly to available, busy, ideal. This is very much meaningful. Instead of accessing ideal, and again this ideal is going to store some kind of value. It can be meaningless value. Instead of accessing busy, which is going to store some value which is meaningless, could be meaningless, not actually meaningless. Instead of accessing available, it could be a meaningless value. Both are going to give the same meaning. Yes or no? If you directly print available, it is making more sense. If you directly print busy, it is making more sense. If you directly print ideal, it is making more sense. Why need to depend upon a value again? You can directly depend upon the variable name. Variable name itself is meaningful. So just take the variable names. This is the complete enum representation. This is how the enum is represented completely. Right? Making sense, everyone? Let us take this. Same example. Okay, let me remove this. Let me take this. Okay, I have removed the class which is user status. Instead of that, I am using an enum. Okay, the moment you execute this, available, busy, idle. This is completely meaningful. Our intention is to print available, busy. If the user is available, our intention is to print available. If the user is busy, our intention is to print busy directly the variable name, because variable name itself is giving the right meaning. Why need to depend upon the value, which may give the wrong meaning sometimes. Okay, the value can be modified. We have an option to modify the value to display the wrong meaning. Okay, instead of, if you depend on the variable directly, okay, it is completely meaningful. It is an advantage. Don't you think so? Look at this example. We are not using public, static, final. We are not using what? The data type. We have removed public, static, final. Okay, we have removed data types. Okay, we have removed the values. We are only representing what? We are only using variables, which is very meaningful. So here we are not depending upon the data types. We are not depending upon the values. We are not depending upon the public, static, final. Okay, the code has been reduced completely. Don't you think so? The code has been reduced completely. Yes, no? This is the introduction about enum. To represent constants, so this is the ideal definition about the enum. Just to represent the constant set of constants, unchangeable variables, you can use enum type. When you use even enum type, this much of code has been reduced to this much. Right? There are few points that needs to be noted here. Okay, the syntax is, first of all, let us understand the syntax. Syntax is very simple. To define an enum, the syntax is you can have access modifier, right? You can followed by the enum name, enum keyword, and the name of the enum, opening bracket and the closing bracket, set of constants. Points to be remembered. Points to be remembered. Points to be remembered. We need to understand few points about the enum class. All the variables inside the enum type, right, are constant variables and they are public static final by default. Okay, compiler will add these things. First point, even though you as a programmer has just declared the constant type, constant variable is available BC idle, okay, internally compiler will add what? Public static final before this variable. We will see how it is going to add. Okay, what about the data type? So if it is available BC ideal, that is completely okay. What data type it is representing? What data type it is representing? Okay, it is representing all the constant variables are by default of the same enum type, not required to provide any explicit data type. Okay, so we have seen the data types like such as integer, float, string, so on. These are the actual data types. But when you represent a variable by inside the enum type, okay, by default it is representing what? Enum type. It is called as enum type. There is no specific data types for this because they are constants. It is not required for you to define any kind of data. It is understandable. By looking at this, it is understandable. By looking at this, it is ideally understandable. You specifically don't need to define any type here. Any type, it is not required to define any type because variable name itself is giving the actual meaning. So for you, it is not required to define the data type as the specific thing. Okay, it is internally enum type. That's what it says. Okay, third point. All constant variables name, so they are named as constant by default if we access constants variables, name of the constants itself will be displayed, not the value. What is the proof? If you ask me, I am saying all these points, but what is the proof for me? Where is the proof for me? Okay, go back to the compiler, go back to the command prompt. Okay, we are able to fetch the values like available, busy, display with respect to this code. With respect to this code, we are able to fetch the values available, busy, ideal. But where is the proof that I have? To get that proof, we can use a command like java p space okay, user status. Let us try to get the details about this user status. User underscore status. So now look at this. We are going to get the internal details of this particular enum type. When you give this command, when you give java p command followed by the enum name, you will get the internal details, internal compilation details. How the compiler is going to convert this enum class. So this is the conversion, internal conversion. So this is what happening internally, compiled from test.all Java. Look at this code. Look at this code. Okay, internally what is happening? So this is our code. This is our code. This is the programmer's code. Okay, internally compiler is doing so many things. This is your definition of the code. This is your definition of the enum type. Internally what is happening? Okay, this enum is getting converted into class. Compiler is doing this. Enum is internally getting converted as class. Okay, the name of the enum is same as the name of the, it is going to remain same, but it is extending to java.lang.enum class. Internal things. Okay, and this enum is going to be what? Final. See, here we have defined it as available. Internally, look at the conversion. By default, it is taking it as public static final. First point, all the variables inside the enum type are constants variables and they are public static final by default. Okay, even though when you don't specify this, internally it will be converted as public static final. See, available is there, available is there. Okay, public static final, public static final, public static final. First point is justified, first line is justified, right? Look at the second line. All the constants variables are default of the same enum type, not required to provide any explicit data type. It says enum type, right? What is enum type here? User status, right? See, internally all the data types are being treated as enum type, which is user status. Available is a user status which is of event type, enum type. Busy is a user status which is of enum type, and ideal is a user status which is of enum type, right? Third point, all the constants variables, they are constants by default. If you want to access constants variables, name of the constant itself will be displayed, not the value. There is no value here. Name of the constant is the variable itself, available, busy, and ideal. You are not defining any value here, because this is giving the ideal meaning, this is giving the exact meaning. Again, why you need to depend upon the value? Because there are high chances that the value may get changed. Actual meaning is getting fetched from here itself, so it is not necessary to define a value. That's why we are keeping it as available, busy, and ideal, direct constants. That's why no values are assigned to this. Okay, these are some internal things, we will understand this later. Okay, these are the values of the method, values of is one of the methods, right? Now the question is, so this is the enum class, it has been declared outside. Okay, can I declare this enum type inside the class? Can I declare the enum type as inside this class? Now it is part of test class. Previously it was not part of test class, it was a separate entity. It was a separate entity previously. Okay, can I make this to be a part of test class? Will I get any error? Let us understand this. If I compile this code, Java C space test.java, no error. Okay, you can define the enum type outside the class as a single entity. This is possible. This is possible. Or else, if you want to define it inside a class, that is also possible. This is also possible. There will be no issues. This is also possible, and this is also possible, right? Please be informed that you can define the enum type. Let me remove this. Outside the class or inside the class, but not inside the method. But not inside the method. Okay. Second, this is for first point. Second point, you can't create an object for the enum means it means you can't instantiate by using the new keyword. What does it mean? If you have a class, let's say that I have a class A. Okay, I have an option to create an object for this class A obj equal to new A. It is making more sense. But if I do the same thing for the enum, it is not acceptable. I cannot create an object for the enum for the enum. Okay, not acceptable. Error. This error. You cannot instantiate the enum. So that is what it means, second point. Okay, but you can place a constructor, method and variables inside the enums. Okay, you can do this. You can place a constructor, you can place a method, and you can place variables inside them. We'll get to know about this in the tomorrow's class. Okay, for now, let us do a small recap. So this is very simple, guys. So if, tomorrow we'll get to know about the complete picture after completing the remaining methods that is available in the enum. It will make more sense. Okay, so it is going to represent the constant, all the constant. Just look at this code. Just look at this code. The big code has been converted to a small. See, this is the actual code that we represented by using the class, Java class. But if you want to represent the same code, if you want to represent the same set of constants by using enum, the code has been reduced drastically. In this code, we do not have public static final, we do not have the data type, we do not have the values. Only we have the variables name, which is giving the actual meaning. So that is the purpose of enum. When you get a question like what is an enum, your answer should be very simple. Keep it very simple. An enum is a special class that represents a group of constants, as simple as that. Unchangeable variables like final variables. That's it. To represent a variable, you use enum keyword. That's it. To represent enum, you use enum keyword. In this enum, you will have the direct variable names in the uppercase letter. Okay, what is an advantage? You will not use the public static final keywords. You will not use the values. You will not use the data types. That is an advantage. Okay, what is the basic program? We have discussed. This is the ideal program about the enum class. So, this is the internal representation. So, this is the basic program about the enum class. Tomorrow, we will understand few more programs on top of enum class, so that the topic of enums will be completed. This is very important topic. Sometimes you will get some questions on top of enum classes, and usually in the real-time examples, in real-time applications, there are many places where we depend upon these enums. Right? Any questions for me? If you have any questions for me, you can please